physical media and entertainment from the silver screen to the palm of your hand.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to a very special episode of From Screen to Shelf. This is our 20th episode.
Oh, it is our 20th episode. Holy crap.
Yeah, it is. It is. So we've got something a little bit different. We wanted to bring what we kind of usually do. We kind of usually keep our reviews and stuff like that, but we kind of did originate and start with reviews on the podcast itself. So we kind of want to bring it back, come full circle for a very special episode. So we're going to talk about, we initially, as it usually goes, we usually intend on talking about a certain amount of things and then end up on completely either different talk tracks or it extends. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some spoiler casting here. We picked 3 movies here. As you can tell, if you're a video viewer, we are going to be talking about The Witch, Logan's Run, and Midsommar. 3 very special movies. We're going to kind of go a little bit of retrospect and we're going to kind of dive deep. So these will be spoiler filled reviews. And as always, I am joined here with Gabe. Will is not here with us today.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He is here with spirit. He is looking over my shoulder. So that's all that matters. So without further ado, we're going to dive into The Witch, a very special movie that I have a little bit of history with. Gabe, this will surprise you. I did not like this movie the first time I saw it. I did not.
What?
I did not connect with it. It was not resonating me. I thought it was too slow. I thought it was just very boring.
Did you watch it in theaters or?
No, I got a hold of this movie like 2019, I want to say. Okay. A little bit later, but after a couple of rewatches, it really grew on me. The characters, everything about it. I'll let you dissect it first, but I just kind of wanted to point that out that I did not like this movie at first. So I don't think it was until I never even got around to it. Whenever I heard Robert Eggers' name floating around from the lighthouse and that being a lot more prevalent, him becoming a lot more common name and in our world and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'll let you open it up before I give you my thoughts.
Yeah, man. I mean, this movie, I think. So The Witch, it's interesting. Like, I think this is kind of like when we started getting that paradigm shift of, I think we talked about on the channel before, kind of like the elevated horror, so to speak, like they call it in Scream 5. So like, yeah, I think this is kind of like it was along that wavelength of like the elevated horror stuff, and this movie was very different from a lot of horror movies that were coming out at the time. And I can see how a lot of people maybe even didn't like it when it first came out, because I remember seeing it. I saw this in theaters when it came out. And it was so different than what the trailers were showing, right? So the trailers were showing all the kind of, cuts of like all the, the crazy stuff happening. But like you said, it's like a really slow build. Like this movie really is, it's just kind of this slow build and tension that kind of goes across the movie, and then it reaches kind of like its ultimate climax. But I think this movie was just so unique and so different because you really didn't know what Robert Eggers was kind of shooting for in terms of like the tension and the suspense and the horror. You were kind of just watching it and you were thinking like, well, what the hell's going to happen next? Like what is, what's the ultimate goal for this movie? I think with most horror movies, you get a sense of, it's either jump scares or, it's like kind of psychological horror, or they're trying to build anxiety. And with this one, I did not know where the hell the story was going. And there were so many moments in this film where like your jaw just hits the fucking floor because Eggers choose to kind of, kill people off, or, like the ending in particular, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. It goes a completely different direction than I think most people were anticipating. Especially what year was this? This was 2015. Yeah, man, 2015. There weren't a lot of horror movies like this, and I think a lot of people, when they came out of the movie theater, at least at my screening, I remember people walking out there were kind of like, "What the hell did I just watch?" They were like, "This was like the weirdest movie that they've seen in a long time." But I just remember it. The reason it resonates with me so much is I remember watching it, man, and it was one of the quietest movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like you anticipate going into a horror movie, and it's like, you just expect madness, and it's like very dialogue driven. The atmosphere is very quiet. And it's this slow tension that kind of builds over time, and it reminds me kind of like almost. I don't want to say it's like a Hitchcock movie, but it is kind of like, it takes kind of like the essence of kind of what like a Hitchcock, because I feel like Hitchcock is just really good at kind of building tension over time. Like you kind of like get at a little bit as the movie kind of progresses, and I think that's what Eggers did here. And I think the reason this movie stood out is because it was so unpredictable and it was so different from what people were anticipating when they walked into the movie theater, when they popped the disc in. I think it threw people off a little bit, for better or for worse. And it seems like, what made you go back to it though? Because it's interesting, because I walked out, I really liked it. The ending was kind of iffy. We can talk about the ending in a little bit, but I was super excited to buy the 4K when it came out, and
Yeah.
I think I have the Blu-ray too. But it just, I wanted to revisit it just to kind of, now that I knew where the story was going, kind of feel that tension and kind of experience it, knowing where Robert Eggers was going with it. And
Yeah.
it's just, I think I've watched it 3 times so far, and it's just really stuck with me. It's probably one of the best horror movies of the last 10 years. I'd
Yeah.
probably put it on my list, but what
Yeah.
made you go back to it after not liking it?
It was really just the Robert Eggers name. Like his name getting thrown around so much. It really the elevated horror, like you said, A24, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
A24,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean anything A24 is really, really, really worth. Yeah, was this? No, oh
I
yeah, it was distributed by them. So it was really that Anna Taylor-Joy really getting like that,
Oh,
that
dude.
springboard off of this movie and everything
Yeah.
like that. So I just I go through phases where certain type of horror movies or it just movies in general I maybe just wasn't in the mood for. Right. So like I was probably in the mood for just, Freddy Krueger or Friday the 13th
Jason, yeah.
slasher, and especially that's not what you get in this. It's very slow.
Not
Like
at
a lot
all.
of the louder sounds is like the crackling of the campfire, the wind. It's
Mhm.
very, so I think I went into it with a mindset of like, hey, I'm in the mood for more of these movies with a higher payoff. And I kind of forgot how it ended. So it was almost like a fresh rewatch when I watched it. And I
Oh,
liked
okay.
it a lot more. It wasn't perfect or anything like that. Like to the point where like I recently rewatched it about 8-9 months ago. It was around the time
Mhm.
that Second Sight announced their 4K variation of The Witch,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, should I get this? This isn't that, and then I ended up forgetting about it. But I rewatched it again, and I just absolutely loved it. It just works really, really well. The characters are very, very methodical. The placement of them and the way that they're portrayed and everything, from the moodiness of the mother to like the paranoia of the town, like not the townsfolk, but the family.
Yeah.
It all makes sense, especially for the time. It's a very good timepiece in that essence, and it very, very
Mhm.
much so plays into like that Salem witch trials type of paranoia,
Mhm.
and especially like Black Phillip. This is one of the things that I will kind of stand out about. The audio mixing of Black Phillip's voice is kind of off. It's abnormally loud. You
It
know what I mean? Like whenever
Yeah,
his voice
it's
comes in, like when he says, "Would thou like to live deliciously?" It's
yeah.
abnormally loud. It doesn't sound like any of their other voices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very forefronted. You can tell it was put in their post processing and post mixing and everything like that,
Mhm.
which is okay. It was a bit jarring the first time, and I was like, "Wow, this movie's kind of janky," But I think it adds some charm to it. His voice is really good. It's very creepy at the same time. Like a goat's eye, I do genuinely stand by, is one of the creepiest fucking things in this world.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
it
100%.
really is so creepy, and it really plays into that. I just think Anna Taylor Joy really kills it. There's a reason why she's kind of springboarded to fame. She's been a lot more
Yeah.
prevalent, a lot more common. And yeah, the whole family does an absolutely killer job in this. The dad
Mhm.
especially. I don't think the dad gets enough props. I think Anna
Mhm.
Taylor Joy gets a lot of props, but I think the dad kills it in this role, which he is
He's been in other films. I remember I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I've seen
Ralph
him in other
Ineson.
films. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in The Green Knight. He was in Harry Potter, The Creator, To Catch a
Mhm.
Killer, Lord of Misrule. So yeah, he's had a pretty extensive filmography, so he's really good.
It's like, what you just said too is interesting. I think, I was talking with my brother about this because we were talking about Hereditary because he just saw it, and
Mm,
I think the same thing that Hereditary did really well, I see with The Witch too, where it's like, even if it's been years and you haven't seen The Witch in a while, you remember the family, right? Like, you remember
yeah,
the mom, you remember the dad, you remember the family dynamics between everyone, and you remember that forced atmosphere. They're kinda, I mean, because they're pretty much, rejected from their, you know, like their clan or their little whatever it is, and they're forced to kind of live on their own. Um, you remember all of those dynamics, even if you don't remember the significant plot threads. You just
Yeah.
remember that, and I think it resonates with a lot of people. And I'm going to second that, dude. I started following. I mean, I know this skyrocketed her into fame, but Anya Taylor-Joy after this movie, and when I saw her in Queen's Gambit, I think that really solidified it for me. But like
Hmm.
this, her performance is just so freaking incredible, man.
Yeah.
It really sticks out, and I think the movie itself, the other big thing that works for it is the theme of just kind of, you know, religious kind of extremism versus kind
Yeah.
of, like living a life that you kind of want to live in a way.
Yeah.
And kind of the ending. I mean, what did you think about the ending? Because I
I
think the
loved
ending
it.
is a big part of it, and
Yeah.
you loved it
Massive
even the
payoff.
first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually liked it. I mean, I found it a bit goofy at the end and with how like shortcut it is, but I think
Hmm.
it works better after rewatches. It's kind of like, I mean, I talk about this movie a lot. Maybe this is worth its own video on the channel itself, but House of the Devil by Ty West. It's very
Mm,
slow, it's very interesting, but the fucking ending is what makes it. You know,
mm,
like it's like eating cake. Yeah, this cake was good, but then you get some bomb ass ice cream at the end right afterwards. You know, that's kind of how like slow burn horror movies are for me. And plus, folk horror has become something that's been becoming a lot more favored by me. And I think
mm,
folk horror in general has been springboarded by this. Like, I think The Wicker Man, the old school one, got from 1973, got like a lot of those classics got a big springboard off of this movie because a lot of people were like, wow, this was interesting. This was good. I would like
yeah.
some more things like this. What inspired it? What did this? What did that? So I'm a huge fan of it, but I've also seen people that think that it should just cut once she's walking into the woods and they think it'd be more effective. And I think that's a valid argument.
I get this, dude. That's my argument 100%. And I think
Yeah.
the same thing with Hereditary, because I've told you with Hereditary, and spoilers for Hereditary as well. I think that honestly, once the mom's, head is kind of sawed off and
Mm.
her son jumps out the window, I
Mm.
honestly would even find it if it just cut to black. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need that extra kind of,
Like the
you
treehouse
know,
thing. Isn't
yeah,
that
the
like the
treehouse
treehouse?
sequence.
Yeah.
I don't need, like, to see kind of the witches in the woods kind of floating around. I mean, it's intriguing, but I feel like, especially with horror, I'm very forgiving to horror, if it maintains a sense of kind of ambiguity and doesn't
Yeah.
kinda get into things too specifically, because if you get into things too specifically, I think that could ruin a movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, Paranormal Activity. I love the first Paranormal Activity where it just kind of ends, you know what I mean? And you don't know what's going on, and then all the sequels just killed it for me when
No,
you
I know
start
what you
delving
mean.
into everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ending, I actually didn't fun fact, I didn't like the ending when I first saw it.
Yeah. I love the
I
book part.
The book, yeah, where she signs her name,
Yeah,
that
"Wouldst thou like
sequence
to
is
live
great.
deliciously?" is one of the
Yeah.
greatest lines in a horror movie ever. It's great.
It's a great line. I do
Yeah,
like that sequence, and I think that that's where it should have cut afterwards. I don't think you
yeah,
needed anything else. But I mean, considering too, we also have to take into consideration this was his first movie, man.
yep.
You know what I mean? And like, for someone to come out the gate with a movie like this as their first movie, I think he wrote it as well, right?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I know
Let
it
me
did
check.
really, really, really well, box office-wide, budget of 4,000,000, non-advertising included, 40.4 is what it raked in.
Damn.
Um, written yep, he wrote this.
He wrote it himself. I think, yeah,
Mm,
he is a writer director. I think he writes most of his movies.
yeah, he's
But I mean,
great.
to come out to, yeah, I mean, for an opening movie to write a screenplay like this and also shoot it the way that he did, I think he did a friggin' fantastic job, man. I really think that he's. I mean, I'm sure that we're gonna get into some of his other movies and other episodes, and I don't want to delve into all his other movies he's did, like Lighthouse and stuff, but man, he came out the gate with just a fantastic movie, and it was something that was
Mm,
just so different. And the folk horror element that you just mentioned, I think that's what, shot this up to making it such a terrifying movie. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's just that kind of isolation and that Salem witch kind of, period that he kind of invokes. I think that's what makes it so scary. And the family by themselves is scary, even without the supernatural stuff going on. Like, they're their dynamic after kind of getting secluded. That's scary in and of itself. You could have made a movie just with them dealing with
yeah,
their shit, and that would have been terrifying too. So,
yeah.
um, one of the best horror. I'd be interested in doing this with you guys. I don't know if you and Will, this would probably be a headache to try to do, but the best horror films of the last 10 years.
Oh, I mean, even like a decade's ranking would be cool by genres,
Mhm.
depending on what it is. But yeah, absolutely.
Do you think
Yeah,
this
that'd
would
be good.
do you think this would hit your top 10, 2015 to or 2014 till now?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
I think it
But it
might hit
also
my top
didn't have a
5.
lot of competition. You know what I mean? Like I mean,
Well
if you go 2010s to 2020s, I don't think it had like a shit ton of competition. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say it's easy for it to stand out, but it's easy for it
mhm.
to be unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because there wasn't a lot of things like this. This was an older genre that had its time and place, reinvigorated, reinvented, and brought to a modern audience. So it was very easy for it to stand out and very easy for it to be good. And especially very easy whenever somebody like Robert Eggers, you can tell he's got his style, his influence, he's got this and that. And he brings like, it's like reinvigorating the wheel to a degree
Mhm.
in that genre, right? Or I guess like the nuts and bolts on a wheel. And he did that. He stuck to a tried and true formula. He created a vision. He created his own thing, made it unique. And he made the movie that's going to be in 30 years from now. People are still going to be talking about this movie.
Oh,
I know a lot
100%.
of people that have seen this movie, a lot of people that don't like it, a lot of people that love it. Um, but I actually do want to kind of bring up my defense for the ending. And again, to preface spoilers, we've
Mhm.
already been going over that, but this is going to be major spoilers. But I think whenever you watch this movie, that the witches are too highly insinuated, and the reason why it goes past her just walking into the woods is to confirm to you that there are witches, right?
Mhm.
And I think that might be why it's like some people like an insinuation, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like Batman and Joker's dynamic. Whenever you talk about Joker, a lot of people were uneasy about the Joker movie. We don't need an origin. That's what makes him spooky. That's what makes him this. We don't need things explained, right? Because that's what leaves intrigue. That's what gets you to tune into the next episode, the next comic book, the next movie, the next what if, so whatever it is, right? So it's kind of the same thing because whenever things aren't flat out explained to you, you have a lot more rewatchability in something. So I can totally understand that. But also at the same time, the witches are so highly insinuated. But then
Mhm.
also at the same time, then you'd have these debates, right? Which is perfectly fine. Is Black Phillip just a demonic goat, right? Because that's going to be different from witches. Because at that point, he's the whole guiding force of everything. But then you have it
Yeah.
confirmed at the end. No, there are witches, and then I'm assuming Black Phillip is essentially the avatar for the witches. Is essentially what
I got the
I'm hearing.
vibe he's like the devil himself is the vibe I got.
No, and I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that whenever especially whenever it comes to the book part and stuff like that, but,
Mhm.
I think he's an outlet. He's like a symbol of whenever it comes to, like, the embodiment of evil, the embodiment of persuasion, the embodiment of manipulation, right? Which,
Mhm.
again, to your point, could be the devil, right?
Yeah.
But also at the same point, it could be witches are supposed to be that as well, right? So it leaves a lot for interpretation, I feel like. And I still feel like even with that being in there, it gives you even more speculation, with things to go off of and a foundation. So yeah, The Witch, high recommendation. I'm curious because with how you were saying like how you would rank it, because I
Mhm.
wouldn't want to know how you rank it because that'd be awesome to know in the future because I always love whenever we rank things. But I know you work off 5-point scales, but my ADHD refuses to not let me work off of a 100-point scale. So what is your rating on this one?
No, I mean, like, I could do out of 10. 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
it'd be a 9. I mean,
9?
probably let's say
Okay.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I hold it in high regard pretty much almost, with, like, Hereditary. I
Oh,
think that they're
nice.
both, like, equal, and they're both kinda special in their own way. The only point I'm docking for each of them are the ending, to be honest. Like, I think they're fantastic movies, and honestly, I understand people's argument for keeping the ending. I
Yeah.
get that because there is kind of that like what you said, they're insinuated so much and the mythology
Mm.
is kind of there, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it is kind of intriguing seeing like getting a glimpse of what what is that freedom that he's talking about, right? Kind of like where you want to live a life where you don't care.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing that there are other people that have signed on to that.
Yeah.
Um and maybe it's gonna grow over me over time. Maybe like in 10 years, I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's keep that ending, and it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd give it probably like a 9 out of 10. What about you? Out of
Yeah. I would have to say 9, 9.5. It grows on me every single time. I mean, I really just think that it's one of the movies why horror's gotten this I wouldn't even say a second wind because it's had so many second winds, but a third, fourth
Mhm.
wind, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those movies that and Hereditary are single-handedly why horror is still in theaters.
And
I will
Babadook.
argue that. And
And
Babadook, yes,
Babadook, yeah, because
Babadook.
Babadook was the year before this came out, and I don't know
And
how
that's a
much
great
they.
movie.
Yeah, it is a solid movie. We should probably do one on Babadook as well, but, like,
Yeah,
they came out so close to each other that I don't know how, like, if Robert Eggers was influenced by Babadook at all, or if he was already working
yeah,
on. I'd imagine he was already working on this prior to
yeah,
Babadook, but that kind of elevated horror kind of, wind, I think, started with these movies.
yeah. And with what I'm seeing, this actually premiered at Sundance January 2015.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
So he must
and
have been
it
working on it 2 years prior.
yeah, he was working on it. It premiered Sundance January 27th, 2015, and then it released theatrically February 19th, 2016. So it was probably done and finished for it to be that like that. He had to have been filming it at least around like September of 2014.
Mhm.
So it really just depends. But Babadook, yeah, shout out Babadook. I see a lot of people that say that's an overrated movie, and I highly digress that opinion. I mean,
No.
I respect the opinion, but I highly digress that. It is not an overrated movie. It is a wild one. The score, the mom in that
The
movie is
cinematography, everything, dude,
everything.
the atmosphere. I honestly think
Mm,
that movie, along with, like, The Witch, and I'd have to go back. It's hard because, like, I wanna kinda see, like, the films that came out during this time, but off the top of my head, I would say The Witch and Babadook, and Hereditary was what year was that? That was 2017,
Hereditary, I
2016.
wanna say, yeah. I was actually looking through her filmography to see if she's done anything since.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Um,
you got that wave of just these movies coming out that were so different, but they had kind of that same kind of atmosphere and tone.
yeah,
I would, yeah, I mean, we should definitely do a whole thing on Babadook. I'd totally be down for that. But
yeah.
I'm wondering too, because you were talking about the 4K earlier. So you have your standard 4K, and then there's the other one they did, right? Which is sold out now. It's like you can't even buy it. Who did that one?
Oh, that's Second Sight that
That's the
did that
second
one,
sight one. That's
and
the
this
one
was
that Robert
January
Eggers
2014.
actually did. He adjusted the color grading on, right? Or to make it more, like, I guess not adjusted, but, like, I think he said, like, the standard release wasn't really a good representation of the color grading that he had for the theatrical. So I think that the second sight one was the one that he kind of oversaw, correct?
Yes.
Here, I gotta search it up. I mean, that one, I think
Yeah.
it runs for, like, isn't it like $100 a copy or something? People are scalping it. Maybe 150 a copy.
Yeah, it's selling for like $220,
Oh my
$230. You can still
god.
get the standard Amaray, yeah. I mean, it's a very, very, how do you say it? It's a very highly sought after. I mean, they intentionally make them limited editions, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's kinda what Second Sight's become known for. It's just like Texas Chainsaw. I'm
Yeah.
almost positive that LE I don't think it was as quickly as The Witch, but that one yeah, that one was definitely going up there towards the hundreds of dollars, and after import fees and everything like that, 55, $60.
Yeah, I'm
How do
seeing
I
it here.
see
Someone's
this?
trying to sell it for $230 on eBay.
Yeah,
Like,
and,
screw
like, I
that.
would get it with how much I like that movie,
Mhm.
but, I wouldn't pay that price. I would just wish I had got it for that initial one, like, I'm gonna get Possessor that's coming out really, really soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the Texas Chainsaw right now, you can still get the standard Amaray for like 35, $40, and then it's selling for like various prices for 100, not sealed, sealed for about 150.
Mm.
So I mean it's definitely a nice set, but that's yeah.
I like the artwork on it. I will say that the slip cover on it is freaking fantastic. Um, but yeah, I wish I'd caught wind of that because I think he had said, and I gotta. It's been a while since I read these articles, man. But I remember I think Robert Eggers was saying that it just looked a lot more neutral. I could be wrong, like the standard release that came out. I mean, that movie's always on sale for like $10 on 4K, and if you don't have it, you should get it. But yeah, I think he said the color grading was just very neutral. Um, and he noticed that it was just a little bit off. So I'd be interested in getting the second sight one just to kind of compare the color grading on them. I'm sure that
Yeah.
people have done that online already, but um, if you don't have the Witch, you should buy it because it's a friggin' fantastic movie and it's always on sale for like $10, which is a crime if you don't have it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you were shouting it out. Yeah, like it's supposed to be a way better transfer than the Lionsgate 4K that we got.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's the only reason I want. I'm kind of fine with getting the regular standard Amaray, but I mean it's still like $35, and I already have the Lionsgate one, so I don't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
But I definitely want it, and if it's a night and day difference, I'll definitely be getting it at some point for sure.
Yeah, I'll
But yeah,
probably get it maybe in the next few months, and I'll do a video review maybe on it, just because I haven't seen this movie in, like, I think we were talking about it, like, maybe a year and a half. I've seen it 3 times. I wouldn't mind revisiting it again this Halloween or something.
yeah, it'd be definitely worth a rewatch.
But I think,
And yeah,
suffice it to say, we both love The Witch, and we
we do.
highly recommend it. If you guys have not seen it, please go watch it. Very creepy, very atmospheric horror movie. It's
Yep.
probably one of the best. Like, I think we both said it probably hit our top 10 for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, so you're gonna do you want to transition into which one are we transitioning into?
I'll go ahead and do Logan's run since I know you haven't seen it.
I
This
have
one
not.
I
Yeah,
won't
just to
be.
preface, I haven't
Yeah,
seen it at all. So, and you were telling me a little bit about it. So run down like what Logan's Run is and why
yeah.
you kind of wanted to kind of do a retrospect on it.
I just absolutely love this movie. So, I'm trying to pull it up and see right here. So it is by Michael Anderson. It is a movie from, I believe it came out. It's based off a novel from 1967 by
Oh,
William F. Nolan, and this movie came out in 1976. So Michael Anderson, I'm trying to like really look into it. I'm not seeing too much that would probably stand out to a lot of people. He's done a lot of like, I don't know, like very deep divey type of movies that if you're really um into the genre, you might know. But most of them
mhm.
was like All the Fine Young Cannibals. You probably never heard of that. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the 1997 TV version. You've probably seen, and he did
I've
do the
heard
New
of that.
Adventures of
Yeah.
Pinocchio. So
Okay.
yeah. But this movie stars Michael York and Farrah Fawcett. And there's a reason I really like this movie, and I brought it up, and I figured I just might as well go ahead and talk about it because it has really, and I've said it before, like there's some things, especially whenever it's based off a book, that like remake potential can be extremely high, especially if it's done with a lot of practicality and not a lot of computer graphics. But I'll read a little bit off of the wiki and then kind of freeball it from there. But this is essentially the beginning of the plot. In the year of the city 2074, the remnants of that's just so weirdly worded. That's just Wikipedia needs to fix that. That's just so weird,
That's
weirdly
what you
put.
get when people write
It
their own
doesn't.
wikis, man.
Yeah, it's not the name. The city's name is not 2274. It's in a city, and the year is 2274. It's set in the 23rd century. Remnants of human civilization live in a sealed city. So think of like a little bubble. Kind of think of like The Simpsons, but highly sci-fi.
Okay.
And then contained beneath a cluster of domes, like I was saying, because it's kind of like
Mhm.
a few little bubble domes. It's a utopia run by a computer that takes care of all aspects of life, including reproduction. So
Mm.
everything is pretty much organized, pretty much done for you, everything like that. So the citizens kind of it's almost mall like everybody kind of is like young and poppy, jivey, everything like that. And you kind of get everything that you want. There's no sense in money because you're guaranteed to live. You live for fun, right? But there is one catch. To prevent overpopulation, everyone must undergo the rite of the carousel. So whenever they reach the age of 30, they are killed under the guise of being
Oh, shit.
renewed. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So they have like it's actually pretty wild and pretty creepy. It's like this whole ritual, kind of think of like tribal dancing and stuff like that. Like whenever like they're like certain cultures are doing their things like festivals and stuff. Like probably the most prevalent one would be like Chinese New Year, but obviously without death because that's the most one the biggest one going on right now is like Lunar New Year right now.
Mhm.
So whenever it comes to that, like it's done very stylistically and you're killed public execution style.
Oh, it's public.
And yeah, everybody gets to watch it because you're being renewed, right? And then your birth does, I don't remember if it's tubes or if it's kind of like cell like out of a petri dish and stuff like that. So you follow Michael York's character and essentially like it shows you how far this goes. Like he literally goes up to like this computer and types in his dream girl and just has fun with her with one night and then she's gone. You know what I mean? So there's no sense in like getting too attached to things. You can do whatever you want. You're just there for pleasure and fun. So they start to realize that there is no renewal cycle. There is no, some of the people become aware, and it's just kind of like, think Soylent Green, where it's like,
Yeah, dude, that's
stuff
exactly what I
isn't,
was thinking of right before you
yeah.
even said it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like stuff doesn't seem to be what it is.
Yeah,
And
there's
they're
something
also
going
kind
on.
of under the guise that this is the world, right? That's kind of what they think. They don't know there's an outside world outside of this bubble. This is Earth to them, right? They don't know this as a city, because I don't remember if it was nuclear annihilation, kind of like if you've played the Metro games, where they think that like everybody else in the world is dead except them in like Russia and Moscow in that
Okay.
area from that game. I don't remember if it's to that extent, but I'm pretty sure it is. So, of course, Michael York, he goes on this venture, does this, does that, figures out, well, this is bullshit. You're killing us. We don't die at 30, because they'll kill them at like 29, 364th a day, the final
Damn.
hour up until, because they birth
Mhm.
these people at the same time frame to kill them. And it's like, it's not an annual event or anything. I think it's daily, if not weekly, that they hold these events for people to be killed or renewed. So then he ends up venturing out, and then you kind of realize some things, and of course, everything whenever it comes to utopian movies, you never just have a happy ending. It's never just utopia, utopia, utopia. It ends up becoming that it's a dystopia, and it's just these people controlling people. And that's not a spoiler point. That's something that's revealed, and the movie gets pretty long-winded. I have gone on record and said that the second merging into the third act, anything like that, tends to be kind of weak. It gets very long-winded. I think if they had cut just a little bit of it, it'd be damn near a perfect sci-fi movie, and probably my favorite sci-fi movie, honestly.
Damn.
It just gets a little bit long-winded around the teetering the second, third act.
What's the
But
runtime? Do you know?
I want to say like an hour 47. I think if it ran
Oh,
around
okay.
90 minutes, it'd be better.
Interesting.
Let's see. An hour and 18 minutes, so it's almost 2 hours long. So yeah, if you trimmed, I'm
Like
pretty
20
sure after
minutes
the
off
first
of
time I
it?
watched it, about 20 minutes, because there's just a part where they meet this character, and it's just very long, man. And it's him explaining, yeah, this and that. It's a lot of explanation, right?
Mhm.
And without it, but I think there would have been better ways to kind of explain it and stuff like that. But it's just very, very good. So, as a whole, whenever it comes to Logan's Run, Michael York absolutely kills it. Michael York was a force of nature around this time. So was Farrah Fawcett. Anytime she was in it in like a supporting leading role, she
Mhm.
was also in what was it, Saturn 3, which I mentioned in my top 10 movies streaming on Tubi. That's a phenomenal movie as well. It's like Space Terminator, really good. It's like a hybrid of Aliens meets Terminator, without aliens, with Terminator. So it's really, really good, very, very fun. I love whenever it comes to these types of movies, I just always adore the aspect of, how do I say it? Um, Whenever you have such a cool concept, because that's a concept that, I mean, if there is, please put in the comments below of this video. I would love to check out anything that even remotely resembles this movie. If there's something that does it better, if there's been a loose
Yeah.
remake or anything, please let me know. But there's nothing like it as far as I've seen. It's very
Mm.
unique. It's very different. The closest I'd have to say is Soylent Green, but again, it's not like that. That's a very
Yeah,
modern
Soylent
movie. It's
Green.
not.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
modern. I mean, but it
yeah,
does have that kind of like what you said, perfect, utopia slash, it's really
yeah.
dystopian kind of atmosphere. And that's when you were describing this, I was just thinking Soylent Green the whole time.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it is a lot of Soylent Green. Of course, it's not like Soylent Green is people type
Yeah.
of deal, but it
I
it
need a
it
t-shirt
has
of
some
that, by
plot
the
point.
way.
That would be a good one. That yeah. Um what is it I'm thinking of? Hold on one second. I'm gonna pause this real quick. All right, guys, we back. Technical difficulties on my end, but we are live again. So I was pretty much wrapping up on Logan's Run. It's a very near and dear movie series to me. I even have the Marvel Comics run. It's a 7-issue miniseries by George Perez,
Yeah, I didn't know
which,
that there was even a comic run of it.
dude, yeah. And a lot of people, if you're not a comic enthusiast, or you might have been like, holy shit, if you are, he's the one that started Teen Titans. He's
No shit.
responsible for Robin becoming Nightwing and everything like that. So Really cool, really awesome. I have it. It's like right over. You might even be able to see it in the podcast. But it's on the shelf over there. I'm a huge Logan's Run fan. I do adamantly believe that, this is a movie that in the right hands, I'm not a remake enthusiast, right? But I
Mhm.
do love to see different directors' visions, and I like to see things that change with times, right? Like I wasn't the person that was frothing at the mouth for that Poltergeist remake. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
on a different tangent, I will give that thing 10 seconds. I do think, as much as I love Mr. Hooper, as much as I love him, a lot of people know Texas Chainsaw is like one of my favorite movies of all time. I do think that remake actually did do and elevate on some scenes, even though it wasn't a good movie. Like the Jack in the Box, it extended parts of that where it was kind of cool. So going back,
Yeah.
because I watched the remake before, I've been on record saying if a remake is out and I haven't seen the original, I will watch the remake so I give it its fair shake before I watch the original.
Oh, interesting approach. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, because a lot of times when you have remakes, man,
Well, you
like
compare it, right? It's like you
yeah,
have a set standard in your mind of like what it's
yeah.
supposed to be, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's why I tend to favor some remakes a little bit more than others. Like I don't think the Poltergeist remake was bad by any stretch. I just think that it was very watered down.
Mhm.
And then like a goofy story, I guess you could say. Um, Whenever I was working at Games, when was that? 2013, 14. I was working at GameStop at the time, way, way back. And they used to play movie trailers. So they would play the Poltergeist trailer every 30 minutes. So we had this
Oh
running
god.
joke because in the trailer, dude, that's one of the reasons I hate trailers. And that part with the guy, he was in Mad Men. I forget his name. The English dude. He's like, they moved the headstones. We would time it every 30 minutes. We would look goofy as hell in front of the customers all the time. But yeah, a very fun movie for Logan's Run.
Yeah,
And
I gotta
so
check it out. It seems I think
it's
I
on
might
Tubi.
like it. Oh, is it on dude, God bless
Yep.
Tubi, man.
It's for sure on Tubi. It's on Max. It's on Tubi. I know that for sure because it's a Warner Brothers movie. But
Mm,
yeah, it's a very strong 9 out of 10 for me. I really think if it just wasn't for that slower paced, like when I say slower pace, it's like I love the original Planet of the Apes. I think that's
mhm.
a great, great movie. Damn near a masterpiece. But there's parts where it does get really slow towards the
Yeah,
second, teetering on that third act. That's probably the perfect comparison with how slow this one gets and where it could just be trimmed a little bit to make it a genuine masterpiece. Because I love Planet of the Apes. I think it's a great movie. It's very good, very
fantastic movie.
phenomenal. So yeah, Logan's Run. Go watch it. I'm gonna be making my top 10 movies streaming on Tubi right now for February. I think either later today for later in the week.
Okay.
Um, and this is one of the. This is probably gonna break into the top 2 or 3. I love this movie so much. But yeah, Logan's Run, and I wish you guys could see that freaking poster. It's got one of the sickest posters, but it's in the
Yeah, it
middle of the
looks I
video
well,
feed.
I looked it up, while you were talking about it. It's a pretty sick poster. What was the
Yeah,
release date of this movie again?
76.
76, yeah. It almost has, like, an '80s vibe to it, ironically, even
Hmm.
though it's not like I mean, it's 1976, but very kind of retro '80s poster. I love the font on the title too.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it's
dope.
great, really good. And then now we will go into something I know that you and I feel differently about. So this is
Yeah.
going to kind of be two different takes. One movie you never saw, The Witch we
Mhm.
both generally liked, but differed on the ending. But this one is actually fresher for me for the most part.
Same for me because I
So
think I only saw it I think it was, like, a year ago? I
really,
honestly saw this movie, like, super late, and I don't know why. I don't know why it took me
mm,
so long to get to it. I think it was, like, year and a half ago maybe I saw it.
you didn't watch you
Um,
didn't get the 4K by A24. We're just talking about
no.
Midsummer, by the way.
Yeah, oh, man, yeah, we didn't even mention it. Well,
We would have gone the
we
whole thing.
yeah, we were like, what are they talking about? No, yeah, so,
Yeah,
like, I'd had the Blu-ray for a minute, and
yeah,
ironically, I just did not like, I don't know why, it just the habit that we've been talking about, dude. You put it on the shelf and you forget about it sometimes, and
yeah,
that was me.
yeah.
I was like, "Crap, I haven't seen Midsummer." And I wanna emphasize too, I have no idea how to pronounce this movie. You and I were talking about it before. Some people say Midsummer, some people say Midsommar. I have no idea. We're just gonna call it Midsummer. So yeah, I this is a recent one for me too. So about a year
Mhm.
and a half. Did you see it in so you saw it when the physical media release, right? You didn't see it in theaters?
I was actually holding off on it for a while. I bought the big yellow book from A24. I bought it
Mhm.
when it was announced, so whenever that was, probably 2 years ago at this point. but I just
Okay.
know the director's cut edition or the extended edition that's in there runs just shy of like 3 hours, I'm pretty sure. And it
I
takes a
haven't seen that.
lot for me to find that amount of time for a movie. If I'm
Yeah.
a lot, I got to
And
take
I
like a
already think
vacation day at work.
yeah, I already think that with the theatrical cut that one is maybe even a little bit too long,
Oh,
personally.
really?
So, like, yeah, so when they said and I do like the artwork for that one, the A24 release, like, it's a cool set, but, like, when they announced there's a director's cut and it's longer, I was kind of like, "I don't know if I need it to be
Yeah.
to be
No,
longer." I
I
don't know
think it
what it
adds.
adds to it. So you saw the director's cut, you think
Mhm.
is it
I know
better than the theatrical cut?
I only know what's the differences are from, like, I forget what it is. There's a website out there. Let me shout it out because it's one of the most useful websites, um, in the world. It's almost as good as that one website that lets you know when you can take a pee break during a movie. It tells you, yeah, can I go pee? I think is what it is. Um, but there's this website that actually breaks down the complete differences between moviecensorship.com.
Hmm,
So it'll tell you exactly what the differences are. 20 it's almost 30 minutes longer. If I'm pretty sure 24 minutes. It'll break down the scene, like, even if the freaking title sequence is less long, you know what I mean? It'll even give you screen caps, everything like that. Like, right here, it tells you at timestamp 1806 to 1807. It extends it from the 1756 mark upwards of to 1929. So it's almost
damn,
2 minutes longer in that scene alone right there,
that's
and that's when they're
interesting.
planning the trip and everything like that.
Mhm.
So I only know the differences from that, and I can tell you it adds based on that. I didn't go back
Mm.
and, invest 6 hours. It's like Lord of the Rings, dude. I watched the extended cut. I'm not gonna go back and watch the theatrical ones. There's no point.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know
those
what I
are
mean?
pretty extensive. I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Midsummer. So this kind of. I mean, it's been a year and a half, 2 years, but like it's pretty fresh for us. Like we didn't
Yeah.
see it in theaters when it came out. I mean,
Yeah.
I my so my take with Midsummer. I think Ari Aster, he's just so good with characters, man. I mean, like again, like with this movie, the same thing with Hereditary, and we talked about it with The Witch, even though it's Robert Eggers. But when you have a movie that you can remember the dynamics between the characters, and with this one, I fully take away just Florence Pugh, man, just incredible performance, and just the dynamic with her and her boyfriend, right? Where I
Yeah.
mean, she's going through this terrible travesty of losing, I think it was her sister and her parents, right? Um, through the sister's suicide, that kind of in a weird way, it was the parents died as a result too.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember just the grief and like how that impacted her, but also how her relationship was just kind of shitty to begin with, even prior to that happening. And them planning the trip and then heading out there and the dynamics they had when they were there. I remember all of that, and I think
Yeah.
that's probably some of the strongest parts of this movie is just the characters and the situation he puts them in. I think the biggest thing with Midsummer, man, is just the I've said this before, man. If a movie gets too weird for me, that's kind of where it takes me out. And I think Midsummer at the end just got a little too weird for me.
I
Like
fucking
when
loved
it
it.
I know when I was watching, I was like, "This is Chase's movie for sure," and I know a lot of people liked it as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you got him, the climax montage of her finding out everything, and the guy having sex with the girl, and the fire with the bear suit situation,
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, I don't know. I think this definitely demands a rewatch from me.
For sure.
It's not that I hate the movie. I don't want
Yeah.
to say that it's a bad movie, that I don't like it. I guess for me, I just didn't have the reaction a lot of people had where, they were giving it scores of like 9, 10. I think for me, I'd probably give it kind of like in the 7 range.
Okay. That's still respectable.
Like, yeah, say a 6.57. Like it's not that I hate it. There's a lot that I really love. I think the way the movie shot is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
The way that he juxtaposes the beautiful scenery of where they're at and
God,
the
so
freaking
good.
atrocious horror.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing that cliff scene and
Oh,
I'm
the
like, "Oh
cliff
my."
scene's my favorite.
Oh, dude, fantastic sequence. I
Unreal.
was on board when I saw it. I was like, "This movie's gonna be fantastic," but I think it just kind of it just got a little too weird for me,
Yeah.
which I mean, for better or for worse, some people will love it, some people will hate it, but I think it's a very respectable film. I think he does a great job. Like his craft is there, his writing is fantastic, the characters are
Yeah.
great, the atmosphere is great. I guess it's just, and you hear me say this with the horror movies all the time, dude. It's that last third, the final act that can make or break it for me. And this one, I think I need to watch again. When I first saw
Yeah.
it, my first impression definitely was kind of like I wish he kind of went a different route with the ending.
Yeah.
Um, you really, I think you said you loved this one, right? Like this
Yeah.
one. Did you say you
Yeah.
like this one better than Hereditary?
Oh, for sure. I think
Oh
I'll,
wow.
I'll I'll go ahead and put out an Ari Aster ranking out there. Beau is Afraid,
Hmm.
Midsummer,
Hmm.
and then Hereditary.
Wow.
Yeah. Or
But
now
what was it that
Hereditary I've
stood
only
out?
seen twice.
Okay.
What
But
stood
what was
out
it about?
about
Yeah,
this?
about this one that made it kind of like over Hereditary for you?
The cinematography for sure. You know, Hereditary is a lot more simple and eerie cinematography.
Hmm.
This one's a lot more of beautiful eye candy landscape.
Yeah.
Especially the cliff scene. I definitely, you know, Hereditary again has some absolutely amazing shots, and I think Will and I talked about this, I believe, on our verses with Inishmain and the Raid.
Hmm.
But like he was talking about like Skinamarink and how he just despises. I don't know if he used the word despises, but he strongly disliked Skinamarink, and he think it was because like so many people were saying, "Hey, this is so good, it's right up your alley," this and that. He just did not like it at all,
Hmm.
at all. Like I think he even said like a half star, 1 star at best.
Oh wow.
He really did not like Skinamarink. And I think I had that same thing happen to me with Hereditary. Oh, this movie will make you shit your pants. Oh, you're going to change your diaper after the, you know what I mean? Like when you tell me that, I better be having to go to therapy after seeing this movie. You know what I mean? Like, and of course, you know, like the scene with Hereditary and stuff like that, just to give it some landscaping on that or like some perspective on that. I really, really don't um let hype. So like if this movie came out and like I heard nines and tens, I'm probably gonna watch it in about a year and a half. I'm gonna let that hype die down.
Yeah,
You know, I gotta
that
skip
makes
past
sense.
award seasons. I gotta skip past this. I gotta get past that. But I've gotten really good at not letting that affect me because I heard Midsummer was really good and I did have a good time to give it that. But I do genuinely believe that the cliff scene rivals anything in Hereditary, cinematography wise. The
For
way that it's
sure.
done, the shock value, the only thing that can get on par with that is the scene with the head out the window in Hereditary. I won't spoil that one since I'm sure people have seen it that are tuning in, but we didn't preface spoilers for that one at the beginning. So the scene with the girl in
Hmm.
the car, and I think that one just it actually made me go like, "Oh, damn." You
Yeah,
know
my
what I
jaw hit the
mean?
floor with that one. I was like just
Yeah.
completely taken back by it.
Yeah, and I think that the same thing happened with this one. Now, I will say again, teetering on the second going into the third act, like the last hour, I was
Mhm.
completely lost. I thought it was getting a little too weird, stuff like that, but I think it wrapped it up in a nice bouquet for me at
I've never
towards
heard
the
you
very
say
end.
that it was getting I've never heard you say a movie's getting too weird for me. This
Yeah,
is the
no,
first time I heard you
it,
say that.
it was the same scene that you've already said that you had a problem with, and it
Mhm.
was because like and we're gonna get into like some weird territory. And again, if you're tuning in this far, you already know what we're about to talk about because I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail about this scene, but there might be some trigger warnings for this scene in regards to Midsummer. So probably skip forward maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But again, I will preface if you've stayed in this far, you're pretty sure that this
Yeah.
conversation was gonna come up. But the scene with the girl, she's underage. I'm pretty sure they say that she's
Mhm.
14 or 15. You know what
I
I
think so,
mean?
yeah. I believe so. I
Definitely
gotta watch it
underage,
again.
not of the
Mhm.
age of consent at the very
Mhm.
least, you know what I mean? So, then you have the boyfriend doing absolutely weird shit because they spike all of their stuff with mushrooms, you know?
Mhm.
So, like, love is in the air, and again, the one redeeming or thing during this scene was after their drinks get spiked, the blooming in the shots and, like,
Yeah.
the spirals in just the weirdest parts of
Mhm.
the scenery was really good, but it actually got really fucking weird with that, for me, and I was like, "Okay, now this is getting really weird," and then they start chanting with her and moaning with her. That was where I was like,
Yes.
"What the fuck is this?" Dude, and I've seen a movie called The Masturbating Gunman, man, and that movie's actually surprisingly weirdly good, man. Like, so for me to, like, start almost tapping out in a movie when it comes to this, and it's just really the subject. But then it was actually so I was watching it with a friend who is very and I forget what the culture is in this. He was the one that convinced me to watch it. We watched it together because he found out I had that director's cut. He had only seen the theatrical cut, so he wanted
Mm.
to watch it. I forget what is it Wiccans? Is that what their
I
culture
think so.
is
It's
or
been a while,
their
man.
like the witchcraft? Whatever it is, like he's very
Mhm.
into studying that. So he explained it to me while we were watching because he saw it. I was like, bro, this is fucking weird, bro. I
Mhm.
was in the whole movie, but this right here, this scene's about to have me tap out because this is just really weird. So he explained it to me, and I was able to validate it with some research that in that religion, that culture, the cult, whatever the term is that is appropriate for that setting, apparently, and they did preface it. It was like, I forget what scene it was, but somebody gets hurt and everybody goes like, ow, ah, and they just start acting like they got hurt too.
Yeah, I remember that vaguely. I gotta watch it
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's them, and in that culture, that cult, again, religion, whatever it is in this movie, whenever it comes to that, they all externalize the same emotions simultaneously at the same time. So that's why they were grunting, moaning, and everything like that, with them acting like they were all in the same dilemma as her, and why they were in a circle. They all share experiences. They all do this and they all do that. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. And you can't leave that out. If you're going to go this far with the scene, you can't leave that part out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense. I was able to reinvest myself, get back into it. And then, the girl walking in, or Florence walking back in, her character seeing it, this,
Yeah.
that, and then the downfall from there. The scene with the chair, and I believe the burning scene, and then her being essentially heralded as like their new queen, their new leader towards the end, is kind of how I took it. Was very good, but it was that scene that almost made me tap out. I'm like, all right, yeah, this movie's just fucking weird. But I think what it was having somebody that understood, studied the cultural part of it that I was watching it with, was very interesting, because every time I'd be like, that makes no sense. Well, I had somebody there to make immediate sense of it. And that's why it was one of his favorite movies. So I think that probably elevated the experience for me and made me like it a little bit more, because like those things that I would need to go on Google and probably watch a 20-30 minute, YouTube video over, was right there the whole time explaining it to me. So shout out my friend.
And
it really elevated it.
Didn't they to add to the weirdness, I'm trying to remember this. It's been a year and a half since I've seen it. Like didn't they spike his drink with like her blood or some shit like that from her menstrual cycle? Something along
Yeah,
that
okay,
lines.
that was weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like
weird.
I
But
think
also at
that's
the
what it
same
was,
time,
wasn't
like,
it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But even then, my friend kept like explaining to me, what's weird to you is normal to others, man. And I was like, all right. I mean, if people in the world do this, by all means, whatever floats your boat, but it definitely don't float your boy's boat.
And was it? Are we for sure that she was underage? Because I'm trying to remember.
I'm almost positive, man. She was not older than 16. The girl that it was. I'm almost
trying to
positive.
remember, man. And maybe that was her first menstrual cycle or something, and that's why they did. I don't
There's
remember.
your answer right there.
Yeah, like that was the first menstrual cycle. Maybe I gotta
That's
watch
usually
it again. But
13 to 15.
yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, it's just too. It's too weird. It's too quirky for me at the end. I understand thematically, I guess, the end, especially with Florence Pugh's character, where she kind of gets this liberation, right, from like the relationship where she's not tied down anymore, and she's kind of able to kind of move forward, not only with that relationship, but also with like the grief and loss she was going through with her sister and her parents. But I just didn't buy it. I guess I just didn't buy how you can go from grief stricken to going through this kind of horrific experience, and then instantaneously just being able to kind of process and say, you know what, I'm okay with this. That's where it kind of shrooms is the answer, right? Shrooms can be the answer to everything, bro. It's like shrooms. That's why. But yeah, no, 100%. That's probably why. But I guess as an audience member, I just couldn't buy that. You know what I mean? It just kind of went a little bit outlandish at the end. I think that there's a lot of really beautiful stuff done with the movie. Like you said, that cliff sequence it's probably one of the best like sequences I've seen shot in a while. Because I remember just seeing it, and just, I mean, it's gorgeous to look at, but also that, like I said, it's juxtaposed with that tension, because something's off. You're like, this is something's gonna happen, and you just don't know what the hell it is. And when you see it, it's like, oh my fucking god.
It's shocking.
But it's shocking. I mean, and it's not, like I said, it's not a bad movie. I just don't. I think I need to rewatch it. The problem is I just don't know if I want to. Like I said, it's like a 6.5, 7.
It really does,
I'm like,
man.
I wanted some stuff cut out, to be honest with you. I think some
so
of the
like
stuff building to the to traveling to the actual place was a little. I'm like, you can cut a few minutes here.
I'm almost positive, because I've been kind of scrolling through it on here, but it's not only because like sometimes director's cut there's cuts and then reshoots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's sometimes you might take away an entire scene just to add 10 seconds and it's a whole different scene.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure in this one, I'm looking at this one right here that takes away a scene that's 1 second long and replaces it with a 2-minute long scene. So it changes it.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's like the buildup to get to the camp is a little bit longer, you know? I think it adds. I think I think I've seen some people. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. I'm almost positive Craig is a bigger fan of the director's cut and didn't like the theatrical cut that much. He could also be the other way around. Didn't like the directors, but liked the theatrical cut. Like, to give people some perspective, there's a minute 56 whenever it comes to the car. A lot more character building. The runic scene, where they're building the R, or I think this might be director's cut only, dude, because it says that it's 3 minutes and 11 seconds added on. But do you remember a scene where they stand in the shape of an R, like a rune with the Midsommar?
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, I forgot. I got the different flag. I didn't get the one with the burning.
I think I know which scene you're
cross.
talking about.
Yeah, it's like 4 minutes longer where they're all standing there. They're sitting in the shape of the R and everything like that. That's 4 minutes longer on that one, man. Yeah, and then like towards the end, yeah, so like the part where the old man throws himself off the cliff is 19 seconds longer, almost 20 seconds. 11 seconds longer on the preemptive buildup before that. It's just, man, I really do think that it adds. The dinner scene is almost 45 seconds longer. So it's a lot of the scenes that I think build up. Like there's some scenes that I could see on here that are definitely different versus everything, but I think you'll have fun with the director's cut. But I'm pretty sure you have to buy that A24 collector's edition to get the director's cut. I don't think you can stream it.
That's a catch-22 for me, man. Like, will I buy? I mean, like, I forget. It's probably what, like $50, $60.
Yeah, I think you can catch it on Black Friday sales because it hasn't gone out of print. Like A54s or A24s.
Yeah, I think Lighthouse went out of print, right?
No, they still have it on there. It's the Arrow version.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure is because I need to get Lighthouse as well. That's one I need to get.
Lighthouse is fantastic. We need to talk about that movie too sometime. But
dude, you'll be surprised. It's the only Eggers movie I haven't seen because I'm
waiting
to get the 4K.
Oh crap!
I haven't seen it. I need to.
I mean,
it's
the
on my
only
list.
reason I saw it was because I saw the Blu-ray was like $5 one day. I think I posted it in the freaking Discord, and I was like, "There's, I mean, $5. I mean, a 4K if it's a black and white, I'm fine watching it on Blu-ray. Obviously, the 4K is gonna, make the contrast a lot better and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the way it's shot too with the aspect ratio. I think that it's negligible difference between a 4K and the Blu-ray. But yeah, that movie's. I can't wait till you watch that one, man. I'm going to be interested in seeing how you react to it. But I mean, I think we're in agree. I mean, like, I think we both appreciate Midsommar. I think I just definitely kind of took away something different from it, and you had a different experience. You had someone there kind of explaining the cultural dynamics and maybe even the cultural, psychology, so to speak, of what's going on with the characters. I don't know. I mean, if I catch it on Black Friday, if it turns out to be, close to like a regular Ammo Ray new release or something like that, maybe I'll get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I actually want to bring this up now that we're wrapping up on that one. I just wanted to ask you, maybe like a 5-minute if you haven't. And I kind of want to shout it out. For A24, have you seen The Green Knight?
I have not. That's one I've been actually putting off for a while, and I've seen it on sale, and I still didn't pull the trigger on it because it goes on sale pretty regular for like $10, I think.
Yeah, for just the standard Blu-ray or standard 4K, because they also have the collector's edition in that big book-sized one.
Boxes, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the same thing with Lighthouse. I'm looking; they're all in stock. If anybody's curious about A24's website, they also have Stop Making Sense. They have everything everywhere. All
did they ever do one for Hereditary?
No, not one from in-house. I don't believe. At least not what I'm seeing.
That's kind of shocking to me. I'm like, I feel like that's the one you'd want to maybe start with, but that could just be my bias there.
And they could have, because I mean, they also did Marcel the Shell, which is an adorable ass movie, man. Adorable, and that's like the douchiest shell to ever exist, bro. He's an a-hole.
I haven't seen it yet. I know which movie you're talking about, though.
Yeah, like I mean, he's probably not an actual a-hole, but I mean, he just says some of the rudest things to the person filming him, and like he's just a smartass. But Green Knight, very fun movie. I actually just watched that one not too long ago. I picked it up, a slipped version, not the A24 edition and the big
Mhm.
binder box. Because again, like you just said, I got it for $10. I'm not going to
Yeah,
spend
can't go
40 for
wrong.
something that barely fits on my damn shelves, anyways.
Yeah.
Midsommar barely fits. That's kind of one of the reasons I didn't get Lighthouse immediately, because I wanted the Arrow one, but that thing went out of print like in 24 hours, it feels like. But yeah, Green Knight's really, really fun. It's essentially like a King Arthur-esque type of movie, swords and sandals, swords and fantasy, I guess you
Yeah,
could
I saw
say,
the
but not,
trailer for it.
it's really good, man. And I think it'll fit your bill with how you like third acts to be wrapped up,
Mm.
because I didn't care much for the last 290 seconds, I would say.
Mm.
But I think you'd come back and be like, I don't know why you didn't, because um you know what I mean. I,
Yeah.
I think it is an actual ending in a journey that's right up your alley. I really
Huh.
do.
I'll check it out. It
Yeah,
it was an intriguing trailer for sure.
yeah,
I just kinda I don't know why I just kept putting it to the side. It would always come on sale during, like, Black Friday and all these big other sales, and I'm like, "Let me get all these other movies that I've been wanting," and then I
yeah,
just never get that one, but I'm sure, like, Prime Day or, this Black Friday will probably go on sale again. I'll
yeah.
probably I'll probably try to get it, or I mean, it's on streaming, isn't it on, like I think I've seen it on some streaming platform. I don't know, I can check it
Definitely
out
a
through streaming.
possibility. Because it's really, really, it's just so different.
Yeah.
In every single way. It just does its own thing, and it says it's on Prime, but usually whenever you Google it for Prime, it says it's on Max, but only whenever I look at the URL for Max, which is like the most misleading stuff ever, by the way. Shame on Max,
Yeah.
because every time you Google a movie, it says it's on there, and there's been times I've signed up to watch something on there, and it's freaking not, man.
Their website's janky, dude. I mean, I will say their app is pretty solid, but their website
Yeah.
is it's janky.
Needs an overhaul. But yeah, shout out Green Knight. And then just to give you guys a perspective, I'm pretty sure I gave Witch 9.5 out of 10. Logan's Run a solid 9. And Midsummer, again, I got to work with like 1,000-point scale, because like sometimes I got to get very precise. And 9.25, I would give Midsummer.
9.25. Damn.
9.25. Yeah.
Damn, that's pretty close to Witch.
It's the cinematography on that, man. The cinematography, the landscaping, the acting
Interesting.
from the guy that's plays I forget his name. He was in We're the Millers with Jennifer Aniston, and he just plays
Oh, yeah,
not
yeah.
Sentry, but that one dude in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
I
talking
forget
about?
his name. Yeah, I don't know
He's
his
great.
name. Yeah.
He's great
He's
in
the
that.
one that was like,
The
I mean, yeah,
rudest
he
asshole.
plays like he's a prick pretty much. He's like the
Yeah.
rich boy prick, yeah.
Yeah. So really solid. Give him a rundown of your rankings again.
Yep, so The Witch, I think I gave a 9 out of 10. I have not seen Logan's Run, but I plan
Yep,
on
fair.
watching it now because it sounds pretty solid. And I think
Mhm.
with Midsommar, man,
Six and
I'll
a
go
half.
in the middle, 6.75 using your using your rating scale.
6.75.
I don't do
Yeah.
the 0.25s usually, but I'll use it in this occasion.
Yeah.
6.75. Not my thing, but I appreciate a lot of aspects of it. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
beautiful components to Midsommar that I could appreciate. So yeah, that was kind of our little retrospect. I think we're gonna plan doing more of these
Yeah.
because it's
It'd be
just
fun.
fun going back to older movies or even more recent movies. I mean, these are not too old. I
Oh,
mean, The Witch is
yeah.
2015. I know Logan's Run was 1976, right?
Yeah.
And Midsommar's not that old at all. So, but I think it's cool going back to movies after a few years just to kind of revisit them, especially with I think you hit the nail on the head too, where it's like some of these movies get really hyped when they come out, and it's
Yeah.
interesting revisiting them a few years later to see if it was just cultural hype with everyone just wanting to see it, or if it was like it really maintained its quality over the
Yeah.
years. And I think like with The Witch, I think it really did maintain its quality over the years. I really think it's established itself as a a really classic horror movie that people are
Yeah.
gonna appreciate for generations to come. So,
Absolutely.
what's the plan next weekend, man? We're doing, I think, just to remind people, we're doing the Dune episode next weekend, right?
Yes. So we will be doing something very special. You might even possibly get 2 episodes of From Screen to Shelf next week, because we are going to do a retrospect of David Lynch's Dune.
Yep.
That is a movie that I hold near and dear to me. And we will also be revisiting Dune Part 1 in anticipation, because I'm pretty sure we're all seeing it next Thursday, or this Thursday.
Well, it's
Or
not.
yeah, no,
It's the
it's
Thursday
next Thursday.
after. Yeah, the
Yeah, the
Thursday
last
after.
day of February. I know I've got tickets for 3 p.m. in Dolby, which will be interesting, because I think Will's seeing it standard and you're seeing it in IMAX. So
Oh,
we're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna be watching all three the same movie, but that's why I'm even more stoked for it, because I'm an audiophile.
Yeah.
So I got to hear in that 7.1. I can do with the cropped imaging. So it'll be interesting to see how that stacks up for you, because
Yeah. Well, I want
I
to
might
see
even go see it a
the
second time.
IMAX cinematography, man. I mean, he shot most of the movie in IMAX, so I really want to see it
Yeah.
that way. But I'll probably maybe see it on a second viewing in Dolby, just to kind of get the Dolby experience for it too.
Yeah.
And just a heads up, because I don't know if people they probably did. I'm always like the last person to know about shit. I've set myself a reputation for this, but I saw when I was because my wife and I were looking for a movie to watch this weekend in theaters, and I think they have a anniversary edition of David Lynch's Dune that's in theaters right now. So if you
Nice.
so if you want
Remastered
to
or
see.
anything?
I don't know, but I did see that they had it up there to get tickets for. So if you guys want to go see David Lynch's Dune, just in kind of preparation for Dune Part 2, it is out this weekend. I think it's just this weekend too, as an anniversary kind of thing. So yeah, you guys can check that out. But we will be going through Dune Part 1, David Lynch's Dune. I don't know if we're gonna do that in the same episode or different episodes. We'll kind of figure that out later. And then obviously we will try to get our Dune Part 2 review out as soon as possible to you guys. So that is the plan. I think next week is very much going to be kind of a Dune focused themed week, so to speak.
Yep.
So plan on watching a lot of Dune content next week.
You guys got it. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know. We've said it before. We didn't get a lot of hits off of it, but comment down below if there's something specific, a movie you want us to watch. We love being told what to watch, So we like. I know Gabe loves whenever I tell him what his movie of the week is. But we love recommendations. If there's a video idea, an idea for the podcast that you guys have, we have a lot of plans for the future. We usually try to. But we would love to see what you guys would want to hear us talk about, whether it's a movie, just an idea, conversation piece. So let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and for tuning in for 20 episodes of our
20.
banter.
Wow. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.